The restaurant was packed, laughter bouncing off the walls, the smell of roasted meat thick in the air, folks toasting and celebrating all around us. But right at our family table, it was like we were sitting in the deep freeze, silence burning hotter than any steak they could slap on a plate. I still remember trying to slip in next to my mom, just hoping for a little warmth, but she moved her purse without even looking up, voice sharp as broken glass. Go find another table, Sefu. This one's for real family. You ever had a room full of strangers go quiet just for you? Because in that second, it felt like every eye in the place was burning a hole through me. My brother, Obi, couldn't help himself. He had that smirk he saves for moments just like this. You heard Mom, right? You're adopted, remember? He thought it was hilarious. My plate shook so bad I almost dropped it, and for a moment, I swear the room spun right off its axis. I glanced at my dad, hoping he'd say something, anything, but the man didn't even look up from his meal. I felt the air get thick, like I was suddenly breathing through a wet towel. That's when a voice came from behind me, calm, deep, and strong enough to slice through all the noise. If only you knew who that boy really is. My grandfather. The words hung in the air like thunder, and just like that, you could feel decades of secrets starting to claw their way to the surface. See, the whole night had been about Obi, his graduation, his new job, everyone laughing and clapping him on the back, Mom glowing with pride. Me? I was just hoping someone would remember I was there, maybe pour me a glass, maybe say they were proud, too. But when the waiter brought out only 4 glasses, nobody even blinked. That's when I knew, no matter how hard I tried, I'd always be the odd one out. Still, I stayed quiet, pretending it didn't bother me, until Mom pushed me away in front of everyone. That's when it broke. The kind of break you feel in your bones. When Grandpa spoke, you could see the blood drain from my mother's face. My father looked like he wanted to disappear. Obi's smirk melted right off him, replaced with something almost like fear. If you knew who Sefu really is, you'd be begging for a seat at his table, Grandpa said, steady as a judge handing down a sentence. Mom tried to play it off, laughing a little too loud, but Grandpa just stared at her, his eyes burning with something I'd never seen before. He leaned on his cane and said, "You've hidden the truth long enough. This boy deserves to know who he is." Dad barked at him to stop, said he was upsetting everyone, but Grandpa just shook his head. "No, Namdi, you upset me when you took in this boy and treated him like nothing. You forgot who made you who you are today." Nobody moved. Even the other tables had stopped talking. I could feel everyone staring, and for the first time, I realized something big was about to come crashing down. On the way home, nobody said a word. Mom just stared straight ahead. Dad clenched the wheel. Obi wouldn't even look at me. When we got inside, I tried to ask about Grandpa's words, but Dad snapped, "Don't listen to that old man. He's confused." And Mom told me to go to my room. I lay awake all night, Grandpa's words echoing. If only you knew. Around midnight, my phone buzzed, a message from Grandpa. "Come to my house." Alone. The old house at the edge of the neighborhood was dark except for a flickering lamp. Grandpa sat at the table, hands shaking as he slid an envelope across to me. Inside, adoption papers, my baby photo, but where it should have listed my birth parents, it was blacked out. "You were brought here for protection," Grandpa whispered. I stared at him, not understanding. "Your real father was Governor Nuru Okonjo, a man who fought for justice, who made enemies because he wouldn't back down." My mouth went dry. "One night, when you were just a baby, they came for him. He was assassinated. Your mother ran, begged me to keep you safe. She wanted you to live, even if it meant losing you forever. My whole life, I thought I was unwanted, just a kid someone else took in out of pity, but suddenly, I realized I was hidden, not for shame, but for survival." Grandpa went on. "Your adoptive parents were promised wealth, comfort, and a future from your father's estate. It was a deal, not love. They kept you close to keep what they'd been given, but they never meant for you to know. Every cold look, every harsh word, all the emptiness I'd carried made sense now. The next morning, I confronted my parents, showed them the photo, told them what I'd learned. My mother's cup slipped from her hand, tea running across the table. Dad's voice shook as he called Grandpa a liar, but when Grandpa walked in holding the photograph, the fight went out of them. He handed it to me. "Show them." The picture, my real mother, holding me as a baby, Governor Okonjo beside her, pride shining in his eyes. I'd seen that face in the National Museum. It was undeniable. For a while, the house felt like a tomb. No one spoke. But eventually Dad slumped into a chair, mumbling, "We didn't mean for it to go this far." I asked, "So all this time, you were afraid of me?" No answer. Sometimes, silence tells you more than words ever could. I needed proof, so I went to the National Museum, stood in front of Governor Okonjo's portrait, tracing the same jawline, the same eyes. The curator walked up. "You look just like him, you know. His son disappeared after the attack. Are you?" Word spread fast. Photos of me next to the portrait hit the internet. The missing heir. Found. Reporters swarmed the house, headlines everywhere. My parents hid inside. Obi raged, shouting, "You're stealing my life, my spotlight." But I didn't care about the fame. I just wanted the truth. That's when the threats started. Anonymous notes slipped under my door, late-night texts warning me to stop digging. Grandpa looked worried. "Some of the men who killed your father still hold power," he said. "If the truth comes out, they lose everything. They won't let that happen." I thought about my father, the courage that got him killed, and I knew I couldn't back down. If he didn't stay silent, then neither will I. While caring for Grandpa during a long illness, I found a hidden chest under his bed, full of old letters, tapes, documents. Inside was the proof. My father's friends had betrayed him, framed him for crimes he never committed, and my adoption was part of a deal to erase his bloodline. My own adoptive father's signature was on the agreement. Everything had been a lie, from the family I thought I knew, to the life I thought was mine. I teamed up with Amamira, a young journalist who believed in justice. Together we combed through every document, every signature. When the story broke, it tore through the country like wildfire. The courts declared me the rightful heir, restored my name, Sefi Nuru Okonjo, and I announced that my inheritance would go toward rebuilding the community my real father once served. This was never about money. It was about truth, and truth, I said, should heal, not destroy. In the end, as the headlines faded and the city quieted, I sat with Grandpa at a hillside cafe, the world below us bathed in gold. "You built your own table," he said, voice rough with pride, "and the world came to sit with you." I looked at him, my real family, the one who'd protected me through it all, and smiled. Sometimes, being pushed away isn't a curse. It's just life shoving you toward where you belong. I wasn't the boy left out anymore. I was the man who built his own place in the world. So tell me, what would you have done in my shoes? Do you think blood or love makes a family? Drop your thoughts below. Let's see where you stand. Because out there, there's more of us searching for our table, and maybe your story is the one someone else needs to hear.